Hi there, welcome back to our final episode of Food for Thought. My name is Olga Preston and I am a registered nutritional therapist and nutritionist, specializing in nutrition for mental well-being at the Institute for Optimum Nutrition's Brain Biocenter. Now, do you know your gut impacts your mental well-being? It really is your second brain and it helps us to stay healthy overall. We need a healthy gut to be able to digest and absorb nutrients from foods and from supplements. We need it to support our brain function. If there is an issue with your gut, like there's inflammation, or there's an overactive immune response, or an imbalance of gut flora, this will have a direct effect on your mental health. Do you know how healthy your gut is? In this episode, we will help you to understand how to improve your gut function in order to support your brain function. But first, let's just talk about your gut microbiome. Your gut contains your gut microbiota. This is a collection of microbes and bacteria and fungi which basically they reside in your gastrointestinal tract. Trillions of bacteria, meaning there are more bacterial cells in the body than human cells, which is absolutely amazing. What happens in your gut affects your brain function, and what happens in your brain affects your gut function. Have you ever heard about the brain-gut microbiota axis? It sounds like lots of words, doesn't it? Okay. There are several ways in which your gut and your brain communicate. This includes the vagus nerve, which carries messages from your gut to the brain and from the brain to the gut. So they also communicate through the immune system and through the metabolism of tryptophan, which is the amino acid that we need to take to make serotonin, your happy neurotransmitter. Also, they can communicate through the enteric nervous system or through the action of short-chain fatty acids. Your microbiota is affected by many things. One is taking antibiotics. So when you take antibiotics, it just wipes out all your bacteria, and not just the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria. But this is out of our hands, because if we have a serious bacterial infection, we have to take antibiotics. There's no way around it. Other things that affect your gut microflora are the foods that you eat, and also things like infections and stress and genetics. Microbiota has been implicated in a variety of conditions, including things like obesity and depression and anxiety and OCD, panic attacks, PTSD, autism, ADHD, schizophrenia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, you name it. I mean, it just influences pretty much everything. Stress can significantly affect your gut and brain axis, and research has noted that the programming of an adequate stress response, so how well you are responding to stress, is actually dependent on our microbiota. So then when we got the connection between the microbiota and these neurotransmitters that we have touched upon on earlier episodes. Your microbiota affects the synthesis of neurotransmitters, and it affects neurotransmitters pathways. So just to recap so that we can remember this, neurotransmitters, as we learned in our first episode, are the messengers which communicate the brain instructions to the rest of your body. Your gut bacteria can produce and also consume, so they eat also neurotransmitters, and they modulate the production of things like dopamine, which is your neurotransmitter that helps you with our reward mechanism, how much satisfaction you get from things. Also for noradrenaline, which is what gives you motivation and drive, serotonin, our happy neurotransmitter, GABA, our calming neurotransmitter, and acetylcholine, which is very, very important for memory. So all these neurotransmitters are affected by your gut function and your microflora. Our microbiota amounts to more than 1 kilo. They are considered to be the most important microorganism in the human body. There's around 300 to 3,000 different species, and we don't even know how many there are. So this microbiota is part of us, like a we instead of an I. They even help us with the production of vitamins, like, for example, vitamin K, folate, B6, B2, B1, and B12. Having a good gut microbiota is so important for our immune system too. You may have heard that your immune system is in your gut, and that's absolutely right. Research suggests that many mental health disorders are linked to an abnormal gut microbiota, so looking after our gut microbiota should play a key role in supporting our mental well-being. So, what contributes to an unhealthy gut? Let me tell you. The microflora is affected by diet, by lifestyle, and by medications. Our diet has changed over the years, so that bacteria that metabolize fiber has decreased, and we have seen increases in bacteria that metabolize things like animal protein in people living in the cities. We even have noticed that people who move from rural areas to urban areas have changes in their microflora. Different foods prompt the growth of different organisms that live in your gut too, including things that you really don't want there. Diets high in saturated fats and sugar disturb our microbiota. Other things include processed foods, food like additives, pesticides, drug residues in food, antiseptics, emulsifiers, and even artificial sweeteners. All these have an effect on your gut flora. Then we have environmental factors. Sometimes these are out of our hands, like, for example, the high pollution, excessive hygiene. This is something that we can do. We can do something about. And then you obviously have the chemical products that we use to clean our houses, or the chemical products that we use, that we're exposed to when we go out into the world. The gut microbiome regulates the integrity of the gut barrier, which is essential to regulate the flow of nutrients in the body and prevents the entry of harmful substances and microorganisms. Stress, alcohol, and an unhealthy diet, and also things like heavy metals, they all affect the integrity of the gut barrier, which leads to what we can call a leaky gut. So the most important question is, what contributes to a healthy gut? Well, to have a healthy gut and a healthy microbiome, it is best to eat a diet rich in fiber. Diversity is key, so try different colors and textures, lots of vegetables and fruit, nuts and seeds and legumes like lentils, beans and chickpeas. All these foods can support your gut microflora. Then we have what we call the prebiotic foods, which are foods that feed, so like the food of your microbiota. These foods include things like onions and garlic and Jerusalem artichokes and leeks, asparagus, apples. Apples with the skin on, Don't be taking the skin off. The skin is the most important thing. Also things like chicory and endive. These are all amazing foods that will help with your microbiota. Fermented foods like sauerkraut and kimchi are especially good for your gut also. Kefir is another little gem to help with your microflora balance. This is like a fermented milk drink that you can buy at most supermarkets. But remember that you can, if you're dairy intolerant, that's absolutely fine, because they also make a coconut version. Now, sauerkraut is lovely also, and you can have it with like salads and stews, or on your sandwich, and you can add it. You can put it a little bit on top of your soup, or you can have it at a little side dish with your omelette. I mean, kimchi can be added to stir fries. These are all things that you can add into your everyday life. In terms of lifestyle, this week, we're going to try to focus on reducing your alcohol intake to support your gut function. Now, remember what we talked about in our previous episode with the Mediterranean way of drinking. So having it occasionally and drinking it with a main meal, and hopefully mainly red wine. There are also things that you can do to help this connectivity in between your gut and your brain. And for that, you can stimulate your vagus nerve. Now, you can do this through things like singing and meditation and prayer and chanting. So you go, that works really well. Or a cold shower. All this stimulates this connectivity in between your gut and your brain. So when it comes to diet, I want you to focus on eating lots of lovely fiber foods to support your gut bacteria. Just think about going to the supermarket and think about variety. We talk about variety, we talk about color, we talk about flavor too, so that you can enjoy what you're eating, get pleasure of your food. But try to choose colorful foods and try for different variety. Try something new when you go every week. Just try, I'm going to try that different vegetable this week. That's very, very important. Remember that. Now, this episode brings our series on mental well-being to a close. Hopefully, you have seen the importance of both food and lifestyle on mental well-being, and through our series covering a range of different areas. I hope you have come up with some simple and practical changes that you can make right now. If you like to keep hearing about the importance of nutrition to our well-being, make sure to sign up for our free digital magazine. You may also want to think about a one-to-one appointment at the Optimum Nutrition Clinic to find out what really works for you as an individual. Whatever you do next, I'd like to wish you all the very best with your ongoing health journey. Remember, there's lots that you can do which will have a positive impact.